Bonji Cordia, Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat, and this is Fireside Chat 151, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I start with a prayer for peace. Gamara Siacon ar fud na crinne. Gamara Siacon in our Jaili agus in our Dira. Gunairi Lin Len ar Kuch Garmaka. Gamwich Buikus Jeev, Jeha, Chubdaga, Spirit Chubdaga. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So you may have gathered this is a recording chat, or as I'm away on retreat. So this is the time of the summer solstice. In Ireland, we call this midsummer, Bullock and Thowry, the belly of the summer. And we honour the Goddess Áine, the great sun goddess. She's also the queen of the Ace She, the good folk. So I'm going to tell you a story. I wad sa Chanemshire, sa Chirshaw, a long time ago in Ireland, the great goddess, the great fairy queen, Áine herself. She had, and still has, her castle beneath the water in Lough Gur, an enchanted lake in County Limerick. And she loves nothing more than on sunny days like this one to rise up from the lake and to sit on her favourite seat called Siacon Bananchi. Literally means the seat of the woman of the house, or maybe it could be Siacon on Banshee, the fairy woman. And she likes to comb her hair with her beautiful golden comb. Well, one day, a sunny day, she was sitting on her loch, her seat, and she was combing her hair with her beautiful golden comb. And she was so beautiful with long golden locks and blue eyes, just like the colour of the sky at midsummer, and lips as red as hawberries. And as she combed her, there was a young herd boy not far on Knockadoon Hill, herding his goats and his cattle and his sheep. And he saw the goddess Áine, and he was mesmerised as she was combing her hair. Now, it wasn't her long golden locks that fascinated him. It wasn't her beautiful blue eyes or her beautiful red lips. No, it was her magic comb. He was enchanted by this magic comb, and he watched as she stroked her hair. And after a time, when she'd finished, she put the comb down beside her on the loch, and she decided to lie down for a snooze. And because it was such a warm day, she fell into a very deep sleep. Well, the young boy came creeping down Knockadoon as quietly as he could, over to where the goddess Áine was sleeping. He picked up the comb and ran away with it back to his own bahn, to the little house where he lived with his mother and father. Saying nothing to his parents, he went up the stairs and from underneath the bed pulled out a box, and he placed the comb into the box, came down and had his evening meal with his parents. And all the time, as he's chit-chatting about this and that with his parents, all the time in his mind, he's thinking about what it is that lies in the box beneath his bed. And as soon as he can, he goes back up to his bedroom, takes the box out from underneath the bed, takes out golden comb, and he is looking at it this way and that way, feeling its power and wanting it more and more and more. And so it was that day in and day out, he became more and more obsessed with this comb. When he was out with the cattle, with the sheep, out in the garden, he couldn't stop thinking about this comb and wondering how long it would take before he could be back upstairs in his room with this comb. Eventually, he stopped keeping it in the box at night. He would put it under his pillow, but it was the last thing he looked at as he rubbed his finger up, the last thing he'd look at before he went to bed, placing it under his pillow. And it was the first thing he looked at when he woke up. I don't know if that reminds you of something of these modern times. Anyway, he became more and more obsessed. And he no longer tended the cattle. He neglected the sheep. He neglected the goats. He neglected his crops. He was no longer able to help his parents on the farm. He stopped washing himself. He stopped eating. He stopped drinking. All he did was lie in his bed with this comb, looking at it, obsessed with it. What could he learn from it now? What might it tell him? Getting more and more under its spell. And he was getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and his parents were really, really worried and distressed. They couldn't find out what it was that ailed him. And it dawned on him one day that he was dying. He was getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and all because of his obsession with this comb. And he was worried that his soul wouldn't rest well on the other side, for he had stolen something that wasn't his, that he had no right to, albeit he was fascinated by it. Not only that, he had taken it from the queen of the Daoine She. So he called his parents to his bedside and told them that he was dying. And then he confessed to them what he had done. Oh, the horror in their hearts. Oh, son, what have you done? You stole something from Áine, the sun goddess, she, the queen of the She. How could you have done something so foolish? And he said, I know, I just couldn't help the power of this comb it had over me. And now I've paid too heavy a price. I'm paying the price of my life for it, and I am so sorry for the pain and torment and grief that I've brought on you. I have been no help to you these last months, and I certainly won't be any help to you when I'm gone to the other side. Please forgive me, but do one last thing for me. Return this comb to the Goddess Áine so that my soul may rest in the other world. Broken-hearted, devastated, the young man's parents took the comb and went off as quickly as they could to Lochgar. And it was a very calm day, and the surface of the lake was like glass. And they picked up the comb and they threw it into the lake. And then they went behind a sceach, a hawthorn tree, to hide to see what might happen. And they watched as these ripples began to appear in the lake. And as the Goddess Áine rose up, holding this golden comb in her hand, and she looked around. Who might have put this here? And then she saw the man and the woman hiding behind the sceach. And she looked at them intently and then nodded her head in thanks and acknowledgement for having returned her comb, that which was rightfully hers. And then she sank down beneath the surface of the lake, and all was calm once more. And the father and the mother, they ran back as quickly as they could to their Bahan, to their dying son, and they went upstairs to him, and they said, Son, we've done as you asked. And his mother held his right hand and his father held his left hand. And they wept. And he said, Forgive me for all the pain I've caused you. You have been wonderful parents to me, and you've given everything to me. And they said in turn, But you are our only son, our darling boy. We forgive you, and we just wish you a good journey to the other side. And then he closed his eyes. His breathing became slower and slower as his parents held his hands, weeping in grief. And then something happened. The young man began to breathe normally again, and he opened his eyes and said, I'm starving. What I wouldn't give for a bowl of porridge. And his mother jumped up with joy and, for you, you're not going to die. And he said, no, I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling energetic. You see, the goddess Áine, tough and all as she is, could find it in her heart to forgive this young man, knowing that he'd learnt his lesson. So his mother ran down and made the porridge as fast as she could and came back up, and he ate it with gusto, and then he had some tea. And then he got out of bed and he washed himself and he got dressed. And he said, oh my goodness, I've been given a new lease of life. And I tell you, I have learned my lesson. Never to be obsessed with things that are not meant for me. Anyway, life went on, and that young man became stronger and stronger, and he came back to tending the land and looking after his sheep and his cattle and his goats. He certainly had learnt his lesson. And he had a life partner and his children, and he always told them that story and the warnings of not taking what's not yours and not to interfere with enchanted places. He was very careful after that. Very careful when he was on Knockadoon Hill. He'd never go there on a sunny day. And when he was walking by the lake, looking at its stillness, he'd always keep an eye out for a telltale ripple. And then he'd leave in case he was tempted by herself again. And that is the end of my story, Áine. So I wish you all many blessings for this time, and slán go fóill until we meet again.